it looks like it's doing what it should do. Right, we're live. So we have got Scott Brown here. He's just done a race. What the hell? I'm through. Right, we've got Scott Brown here. He's just done race across Scotland, 250 miles. I am right.
Yeah.
230.
215.
Right, 215. Right, 215. You came first place. You knocked 2 hours off the record.
Yeah,
Is that
just
right? 2 hours, 7 minutes.
Yeah, that's right. Just over 2 hours. Yeah.
And let's get straight on. Tell us about you. Tell us your background, what your job is, how you got into running, and take it from there.
No worries. Thanks for having me on. So I was my background. I was in the army after leaving school, and then I left kind of near enough straight to school, and I'd served roughly just under about 9 years, and then after that, I then was working just in Civvy Street as like in a gym and also different stuff, doing a bit of work. Then I went back into something similar, close protection. So I was a bodyguard, and then I was working in London for a little while, and then overseas in the Middle East and stuff like that, doing that work. And then I did that for a few years, but I decided to pack it in and move home. So I come back to Scotland and settled, basically. That was in the very start of 2012. And then from there, I set up a boot camp in Ayrshire, and it was the first military boot camp. There was obviously different boot camps, just a wee couple of different ones at the time, but none of them were kind of military themed. And I'd set one of these up, and I wasn't sure how many people would turn up at it. And it was like 56 people came to my first ever boot camp. So that gave me a real love for even teaching civilians rather than teaching, squaddies and stuff like that. And I've just always loved fitness. So whether I was training, always competing in the army, doing boxing for my regiment, athletics, 400 metres, stuff like that, cross country, different things, and maybe whether it's skiing and stuff, then getting out and then switching across. And as soon as that first year coming back home, I was like, right, I need to fill that void because I'm not competing in the army anymore. So I took up some obstacle racing, and a lot of them were like Tough Mudders, where you go and you're always trying to get round the course first and stuff like that, but they were never really proper races. They were just, you wanted to beat everybody else on the course because it's just, I always had that competitive edge as well. And I'd done other ones with some of my friends and stuff, but so that's how I started. And then I started competing at that and doing like 24-hour obstacle races. And to date, I've done 6 of them in America. It's like when you're doing a Tough Mudder for 24 hours, just loops and loops and loops, doing obstacles. So and I found I was pretty good at that, and I came like top European every time I went, and always like in the top 10 in the world and finishing in that event. And there was other ones. There was a big UK circuit. For the first few years, I was a bit blinkered and didn't really understand it all. And then dipped my hand in a wee bit and did like all the Scottish ones and a few of the English ones. But during that period, I really probably fell in love with ultra running. And same as the distances, you can tell, like it's probably because I liked the distance obstacle racing as well. So even though I would do all the Scottish ones and different ones, I didn't think that's where my true passion was, even though I was half decent at it, but my true passion, I think, was running distance and mainly off-road as well, because I've never really been a marathon runner. I've done one marathon, as in competing, and it was with a £50 backpack on for a charity, a local charity, and that was a London marathon. It was brilliant. But that was, again, it was a wee bit different because I was carrying the pack. But after that, went straight back to kind of off-road stuff, trails and hills and stuff like that. And since that's probably over the last 10 years, things have developed and I've took it more seriously, because even though I've always liked to compete, I've just kind of, I think the early days I was just winging it, and that's the truth. I was just turning up to events. I was always training anyway, but never specifically for events. So I was just turning up, saying, right, okay, I'm going to do an ultra. And I would, my first few, I was maybe, so say if I was doing, my first ever ultra was like 43 miles, and I only done like 2 20-mile runs before I turned up. And then my strength, I had a strength base of doing kettlebells and different things like that. And it seemed to work. And, you know, and I remember one of the guys there who's a very good athlete, and he said to me at the finish, he says, if you ever take this seriously, you could be good at it. And I was like, oh, cheers, you know, and it was nice. But again, I went back to doing obstacle racing and different other stuff. And then over the last few years, just before COVID, I took on a coach. I took on a coach, a guy, Casey Morgan, who's out in Spain based. And, you know, I'd my first ever ultra, he was running in it, and I think he was first place. So I kind of probably, that was the, you know, I aligned myself to that. And he taught me an awful lot, because obviously I've got my own gym and I help my guys with their training. But his coaching was really good, and he then passed an awful lot on to me about no overtraining sometimes, and because you know, maybe I would have ran myself into the ground, or sometimes just different techniques and different methods to train. He's really good, and so I've worked with him since. But West Highland Way was my first race with Casey, and I did well. I think I came 7th overall, and like 17 hours 53, and I was quite pleased. And I remember that was a turning point. That was when things started really looking up, and I was like, actually, you know, times are good, and then my results have got better and better. I've done different ultras since, and I've felt far greater. I understand my body and the value of nutrition and all of these things, whereas I probably, and it sounds a bit silly, but in my early days, right at the start, I would have done ultras and stuff and just no ate. I would have just took enough fluids on or something, and my levels would just start going down and down until I was running on empty. And then I was wondering why I wasn't performing at my best. But so yeah, I've really kind of took a lot for my failures in different things, and where I've no done better as well, and learned a lot for that experience. And then yeah, in the last couple of years, my events have got really quite tough. So that's where we are.
So tell us about like the big race you've just done. So tell us about what happened, anything like how it went, like the beginning, middle, end. I bet there's a lot to talk about because it's a long time to be running.
Yeah. So before the event, I always get nervous before everything, and even though they shared, you know, before the event, they kind of share who's doing it and stuff like that. They'd shared myself, they'd shared all these different other guys, and other guys who'd won different races and things like that. So I don't know if it was a mixture of that, and you're going, right, okay. But I don't think so. I think I just get nervous because I want to perform. I always want to just turn up. I don't want to mess up and things like that, because I know I've got a lot of support back in Ayrshire. It's amazing. I'm very grateful for everybody that gets behind me, especially running a gym and stuff like that. So it's good. But so I was nervous before it, and especially in the week, the running up to it. But it felt good. You know, I was like, I always know that when I've got nerves, then I don't overlook stuff, and I make sure all my kit's packed and things like that, which has happened before where I've went without something. So before I turned up, the nerves were going in that, and I went down the night before. Well, actually, before that, I decided that I wasn't going to train on the route. A lot of people spend a lot of hours. I know one of the guys competing. He seemed to be on there loads and loads. Guy Woody, great guy. He was forever on that route, and he's run it backwards and forwards and everything. But I decided just personal reasons that I was going to go, and just take it. I've got a map. I can map read. I've got the route on my watch, the new route. So I was thinking, right, okay, I'm just going to enjoy it and just take it as a turn up. So it was my own decision, and so I turned up the night before. My mum had hired like a lodge down there, and I had my brother with me. He was my crew, and then my other crew was so my brother was Kevin, and then there was Steve and Fiona. They were going to be my free support crew. The other two guys, Steve and Fiona, were going to meet us the next morning, race morning. But Kevin was with me all the time, basically ready to go. And we went down to we went into my mum's and stayed in her lodge that she had for a couple of days with my wife and my daughter and Dakota. So they were kind of really looking forward to it as well. And we just had something to eat. We kind of just relaxed, getting the hot tub the night before that they had, just wound in really, just kept a low key. And then just got up early that morning and we went down to, we checked in the night before at the event, made sure we'd had everything dropped to, you had to check in the night before. They give you a race number, so we did that. But there was nobody really there, so we never really got a feel for it until the next morning. We turned up and we seen the other racers and stuff like that. But because it's such a long race, the entries it's not as great as an entry as one of these. Like I've done races where there's maybe 1,000 people in it or something, or 500 people. So this one, but the distance goes up, usually the numbers go down. So there was just over 50 or something in this, and it was very, it felt as if there was a kind of just togetherness, in this race that that didn't matter really who you were against, you were also in it together. And I just felt that straight away as soon as I got there. I knew a couple of the guys. I knew a guy, Gregor's, this Polish guy that who'd introduced himself to me like only a couple of months before. So it was nice seeing a familiar face. And then I'd recognised the guy Woody and the guy Keith Wigley, who I would then later run with. So I kind of recognised these guys, and it was starting to settle me. But I knew once the race had got going, I'd be fully settled. And so 6 o'clock came, and there was a piper and all that kind of stuff there. I think they piped it before they started, and the race got underway. And my family were dotted about, and they seen us off, and we got straight into like a couple of wee up hills and stuff. And we got to the front just to get up the way of the kind of heavy traffic of runners. And then after that, we just settled in to a run. And I was aware that there was a guy, Harry, there, an American guy who'd won different 200-mile races and stuff. Again, he was one of the favourites, I think. But I wasn't really bothered about that. I just tended to stick to my own thing and not worry about who's there. And then we'd set off, and this guy, Harry, took to the front. And I was trying, it's strange because you're aware of how fast somebody's moving in front of you, especially in a big race, but you're also trying not to get drawn into like going with them. But it's a weird, I was talking about this later to Keith on the route, and he was the guy the guy who came third. And so I was saying to him, I said, sometimes it just draws you in, you're trying not to go, but you're just automatically speeding up a little bit. So every now and again I would think I'm moving too fast and try and slow myself down a wee bit and let him go. But it soon became apparent that I didn't think that the guy Harry was going to finish, because he just looked like he had lost like 4 times, and this we hadn't even reached like Castle Kennedy. And I was like, right, I'm starting to worry about this guy here. So if his nav was kind of that bad during the day, then it was going to be a worry, especially getting into the first night or something. So we gets to Castle Kennedy, and I was like side by side with this guy, Harry, and the other guys were just behind us. And then, Harry had then he took a wrong turn. And then he come back and he's like, do you know the route? And I was like, well, I've got it on my watch. I've got a map. I was like, have you got a map? He's like, no. I was like, right, you go take your watch. No. I was like, right, you're gonna have problems. So the race director came up with his phone. He's like, how you doing? Like running next to me when I was just running. I was like, yeah. I said, I'm fine. I said, but I worry about this guy here behind me. So yeah. So after that, Keith then started passing me, and but again, I was just decided just run your own race, let him go, because it's a big race, and so he passed me, and then by this time the heat was really starting to play a part in the day. I was up the front while it was early hours, before the sun came up, but after that I kind of watched my pace and checked my pace a wee bit, because I knew it was going to be a long day in the heat. And the last thing I wanted to do was really go through loads and loads of water, and energy as well, just like burning myself out in the heat. So I kind of watched my pace. He come past, and then Harry come past again. I think he got lost again after this. But a wee bit later, Keith had then slowed his pace back a bit. I could see he was struggling. And I was like, you're right. And he's like, yeah, I think I overcooked it a bit. Did you? And I says, I did it. I was a wee bit earlier. That's why I kind of watched what I was doing. I says, I could tell, So then at that point, we sort of was running like kind of just together for a wee while. And then we decided, I says, well, if it comes to it, we'll get through the night together. And I thought, like, sometimes these things, with it being like, it was 30 degrees, it was absolutely roasting. And I thought sometimes these things, like, there's no rush, because as long as we're both running well, like, I don't need to go on my own. And I knew he was a good athlete and stuff like that. So he's like, oh, absolutely. So we ran together for a while. We went into the checkpoints, and I think that was a wee bit to the surprise of my brother and that, because he always wants the best for me, and he knows how, he knows I've improved and all that. So and even my other crew, but I think he was like, right, okay, so you're going to stay with him? And I'm going, yeah, like, we're going to just sit together for the night, just the night, and then we'll see what happens. So yeah, they were fine with that, and we carried on. But every checkpoint, the crews were just, especially in the heat, they were just like really, really worth their weight in gold, because like Fiona and Steve and Kevin, like they were getting my kit sorted, get me like new kit on, get me like fluids, just really attending to everything, and a lot of people, especially in the heat, they were just like really, really worth their weight. I don't know what that was.
Sorry, I think one of the YouTube, like, the video came back on.
Right. And
it was like a second voice.
And after that, the nutrition. A lot of people ask a lot about the nutrition and stuff. As we were in the checkpoints, it was people say, what do you take? My honest answer, I know everybody's so different. I listen to people that go, I will take this, then that. Mine's is different. I'll say a list of stuff that I like, and then I'll also tell my crew to have a couple of things that they like, and just treats and different stuff. And usually the thing that I think that I like the most, that I will feel like. So I usually just choose what I want, and just make them record and write these things down, that I'm having things and taking stuff in, and that I'm even having just a variety of stuff. And I usually have I carry probably more than anybody in the race. My wife would justify that. Like, I have the biggest, heaviest pack going, but I don't mind carrying kit. So I was always carrying like 3.5 litres of water, and that played a massive part, I think, in that race. I think, a lot of people would, if it was a shorter race and everything else, then, but I would always probably carry like a lot of water for something like that. Just, I would rather have too much than too little, just in case I miss somebody at a checkpoint. But I had 3.5 litres on me at all times. And then, I was mainly just coming in, and I was getting my feet sorted, because especially that route's like notoriously wet and boggy and stuff like that. It's not like your trails where you can just batter it down the trails. And then also, being at the first day and the hottest day, like 30 degrees, there was a lot of times where I wasn't afraid to walk and just conserve energy. So there's a couple of big lakes that are just wide open to the sun. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to just chill and just cruise for a bit. So again, that's just down to personal preference and conserving the energy. And then I knew that I would maybe move a wee bit faster at night again when the sun was down. So yeah, things have been going well. Do you want me to carry on? Yeah.
No, carry on.
Right. So as the first night was finishing, we'd came into multiple checkpoints together, me and the guy Keith. We'd then ran into Woody. On the night, he was moving well. He was gaining on us. And I think that was done to the pace. Well, I don't think, I definitely know. I was going at Keith's pace, and I was probably happy to do that because I'd made a pact that I was going to stay with him. So I'm true to my word. So and then through the night, I seen Woody, and I was like, "You're doing well." And his wife is worth her weight in gold. She was everywhere. I think I'm just trying to remember. So Siobhan, I think her name was, and she was out in the route. She knew everywhere to meet him. She knew like anywhere that I thought, wow, this would be a good spot to have somebody meet you. If you hit a road, she was there, and I was like, wow, good on her. But she, even in the darkness, pitch black, she was there. So I was probably jealous a wee bit of that, but never mind. But as we carried on, Woody was with us, and we then stayed with Woody and started moving a bit faster. Then when Woody had gained, because we didn't want to lose ground, we were like, right, okay. I was like, let's go, and then we take moving. And actually, Woody was a real benefit in another way as well, because when we were together, I'm the worst person to spend the night with. Like if we're doing something like this, because I don't talk. I'm very much like just in this quiet tunnel vision sort of mode, and it like probably just crap company. But Woody was just like, you didn't stop talking as soon as he reached us, and he was brilliant. He really was, because as soon as he got there, I was wide awake, and I was like, actually, I've just woke up. I remember Keith said that the same, because we were like half asleep, both was like staggering a bit the trail, and Woody came and he was like talking about hundreds of experiences and different, was out and back, and is the last time he did it because he had to stop, and he was talking about all these different things, and so he was good, really good. He kept us awake, and then we were coming near the checkpoint. Just before like about 5 in the morning, before like One Lockhead, and I remember, I'll just try and remember what I think I remember, but I remember coming in, and Woody had fell back a bit, but he knew that we were going to have a full hour there, because that's what his original plan was, that he was going to have a full hour sleep. But so when we get in, I thought he was only a couple of minutes in behind us. But when we get in, we get straight into rest mode, got all stuff sorted. I was then sleeping for a wee while in the front of a camper van, and then Keith was in the back of his supports camper just next to us up it. Woody came in just a wee bit after that, probably. So I don't know if he'd been having bother or whatever, because I then didn't really run with him again. But he came in. But in my head, I thought we would all be getting up roughly about 6 o'clock. And sorry, somebody just. I thought we'd all get up roughly about 6 o'clock, and then we would be heading out probably together. But when I woke up, and I seen Woody heading out, but my brother said to me, I was like, oh, there's Woody heading out. He goes, Scott, he's not had much rest. He said, like 10 minutes sleep. He came in quite a wee while after you, I know you said he was just about due in. He came in just quite a wee bit after you, and he's not had much rest, and he's away again. So I was like, right, and he gave me a wee wave, and off he went. So I was like, right, cool. So I went to see Keith. I wanted to see how he was, and as soon as I went to his camp, I was like, right, you ready to go? And he's like, jaded, and he's like, I'm going to go at the toilet, and then he wasn't ready, and I was like, right, cool. So I just turned around to my brother and I said, right, I'm away. And so I just then said, right, I knew that at this time, like the night was over, we said we'd sit together. I knew at this time that I knew for the night before I was probably feeling better and stronger than they guys were, that just feel like looking at their bodies and stuff like that. But I was happy to spend the night. But at this point, I was like, right, I'm going to get moving. And then that was it. I then set off out. There's a big climb out of One Lock Head, and I was heading up the climb. And well, Woody was probably maybe about a third of the way up it before I set off. I probably caught him about halfway up it, and gave him a hello and that, how you doing, buddy? And then just passed him, like, and I just felt as if I was climbing super strong. Probably when I got to the top, I had a wee look back, and he was quite a way back. So that's when I knew that, you know, I was moving well. And then that was it. The rest was sort of history as far as being Wendy. I just knew that I was moving well, and I was going to make some ground well before the sun came up. So I just started crossing. There was a good few hills after this part, and I was crossing the hills, and there was no sign of any of them. So I then later heard that the two of them had Keith had caught up with them, and they'd ran together. So that was good, and I knew that they would work well together. And then we goes into before we gets to. I'm just trying to think what it was. So before we go into night two, I then go in and get sorted. I have a rest again for a bit, because I knew they guys had rested, and I was like, you know what? I'll be honest. I because of how hot it was over the first 2 full days, I wasn't really bothered about course records or anything like that. I was just wanting to win it because that was my race for the year, and I was, by this time I'd started building up some miles, and I was like, right, okay, it's now mine to lose. And it was nothing really against the guys. It would have been the same whoever it was, and it was just nice that they were good guys, that I got to spend time with them. But so I'd made some good ground, and then I had another rest for a wee while. But into the second night, that's when things got a bit weird. I started having hallucinations and stuff like that. I was in the forest, and I thought I could see my brother, who was crewing me in the forest. And it was pitch black. Now, they tell you to bring 2 head torches, so my top tip to anybody that's doing it next year or another year or anything like this, is make sure your second head torch that you have in your bag has got a lock on it. So mine had a lock, like there's a lock where you can lock so it doesn't turn on, but I didn't turn the lock on. So I think my head torch had either burnt out with the sun, with the heat and stuff like that, or it had been on in my bag. So I was in this forest, and I'd used this head torch that I'd on night 1. So then on night 2, it was starting to run low, and it blinked about 4 times. And I was like, right, I've still got a while on this head torch anyway. So a wee while later, it blinked again. And I was like, right, I'll sit down and put a new head torch on. I pulled it out, and my surprise, there was nothing there. And I was like, oh no. So I had to put the other one back on. So I ran for a bit more. And then this is when I thought I see my brother in the forest. And my head torch was really dim. And I was waving, going, I'm just coming. And I think he waved back at me, right? In my head, he was waving back at me. And then I got closer, and I was like, I could still see him, but he wasn't shouting me, or he wasn't coming closer. I was like, that's trying to concentrate and see him. And then I got right close, and I was like, no way. It was one of these fence, like a stile that you jump over. And I was like, I can't believe that. I thought that was him the full time. This happened like 3 times in the night. I kept thinking I seen him. And then also at one point I thought I heard it was either Keith or what do you call it? The other guy, Woody. I thought I seen Keith or Woody. No seen, heard them behind me. And I was like turning round and looking about, going, no, there's nobody there. And I was like, I need to stop this. And then this is the kind of strangest thing at the mall, or one of them. I was like just about to enter I was crossing a field, and there was a hill right in front of me because a way up, and there was this big dart thing right in the middle, and it was just right above me, and I was looking up at it, and I thought it was like some kind of dinosaur or something like that, right above me, looking at me, and I was like, what the hell is that? And I was looking up, kind of going at my eyes and looking, and it was like I got closer again, and I couldn't work it out. I don't know if it's because I always watch dinosaur movies with my daughter, but I was looking, and then next thing I could see it when I got close enough. It was a dike wall, so like on the middle of a hill, you know, like a wall that goes right up to separate 2 fields. So it was this wall, but because it was so dark, it looked like it was like some kind of dinosaur or something going up in the sky. I was freaking out. So that was the hallucinations I had for a while, and then I think the only other problem I encountered was a bit late in the race. On day 3, I was running through a field. I jumped into a field over one of these stiles, and I knew my watch was telling me just go straight across, basically like 12 o'clock. So I'm running across, and it was getting quite light. You know, all these cows and little cows and calves and stuff had ran down the bottom of the field. Now I looked to my right because I just heard something last minute, and I could see this big black cow, big massive black cow. It wasn't even a bull or anything. It was just like a big like mum or something like that. You know, it was running at me full pelt, and I was like freaked out. I lift up. I always carry my poles, even if I wasn't using them, and I lifted my poles up. I was like, get like that, and it just stopped in its tracks, and then ran down behind me down the bottom of the field. And that really freaked me out. So every time then I was getting into the fields with the cows, I was really taking my time and just like trying to make sure they were moving away before I was going to cross. But and I'm not normally scared of cows, but that one was charging me. Oh, that was like genuinely going to charge me. Like if I didn't look to my right, it was only like probably 10 feet max away from me. And if I hadn't looked to my right, it was going to get me. But that would have been me. So I'm so thankful I wasn't listening to music. So yeah, that was like a close shave. Then probably going on, like really you're meeting your crews. I was lucky that a class this is a home race, even though I'd never done like that area down at like Dumfries and right across to the East Coast. I've not really ran in any of that, like just 1 or 2 wee bits, but very, very, very little. And so a lot of my like family, friends and stuff came down and supported me. And I would see them. I didn't know any of these guys were coming. And even the ones that I did think that might come, I forgot all about because I was just so in a different zone. They were coming down and wishing me well and seeing me off. Some of them just watching what my crew were doing and that, just seeing them attend to me and things like that. But I wasn't the best of company when they were there, because I always remember thinking, like after the race, going, these amazing guys have come and seen me. And half of them I hardly spoke to at all, but I think they understood where I was. So like I was in the middle of a 250-mile race, and I wasn't going to be great crack, but I do remember every single face, and it was like some of them didn't even know if I remembered they were there, but no, I do, and it was good. So that was a nice thing, seeing them. Day 3 was pretty much like a typical Scottish day, where there was a lot of rain, there was thunder, there was lightning, which I absolutely loved. It was the best feeling, especially after 2 hot days, and it was just really, really good to just to running. I love the worse the weather. I love running. You know, I love that. So it was just good to run and stuff that I like running. 2 days, I'm not really built for those temperatures, but I got through it. And then again, it was just after that, I was down to like the crew, like just seeing the guys, like my brother, my wife, my daughter, the youngest one, because I never really seen my older daughter until the finish. But seeing them, seeing my mate Steve and Fiona, like they guys, like when you're coming into checkpoints, that was the biggest thing for my spirits, just like picking up and seeing them, knowing that, right, okay, I've just done another full stage, and then on to the next one. No thinking about the miles, just seeing them, looking forward to seeing them, hoping that, you know, and they were always buzzing to see you as well. So it was just memories that they'll remember and I'll remember, that it's hard to explain, but it was the best feeling ever. And then the only other time, I think I was going through Melrose, where you're going through Melrose later on, and you have to cross, like you're running up the side of a river, and then you have to cross a bridge, and then backing yourself. So this was the only part I started doubting myself, because I'm quite confident where I'm going, and so I started doubting myself, and I got the map, and I was like, right, and I was looking like like so tired, and I was like, yeah, and then I got my phone out, and then I was like, no, I never. I got my watch out as well, and I got my watch and zoomed out to the kind of map, and it could show you. It shows you where you do a double back, and I was like, right, that's okay. And then for the first time in the race, I was like, actually, I'll see where the guys are, see if they're nearby. And then I noticed that they were basically in a different postcode, so I was like, right, I'm okay. So I've nobody's chasing me, nothing like that, and that was it. I just settled in and then carried on. I seen when you get to the last check, what I think we were struggling a wee bit, and it's no fault to race across Scotland. I think they're seeing the level, the athletes improve and stuff like that. So I think you're getting to the checkpoints, and some of the checkpoints on the open, because they've got to cover so many checkpoints with all the different racers. So you're getting to the checkpoints, and they're not really set up yet. They're just there, the guys, and we were cool with that. But I think as it was mentioned before, I wasn't relying on the checkpoints for food and drink and everything like that. My support crew were feeding me, so it was never a problem. But then once I got near to the finish, and we were getting near to the finish, and it was, by this time your legs are sore, my knees were sore, my ankle had been sore, probably for the start of the race, but I just switched off there. And then I gets there, and I thought, you know what, you could probably just walk the full of this, but I'm just going to be out here forever. So what's the point? So I just kept running and run bits and then walk bits and stuff like that. And then once I got to the finish, most of my friends and family were there, and I was just relieved to get finished. It was just such a long race. You're on the go for that long. The longest I'd ever done was 98 miles before that. So every mile after that was like a PB. So that was good. That was my way of getting myself through it. So it was like going, yeah, it was like another PB, another PB. So I was cool about it. I never had a negative thought in the whole race. Then I got to the finish, and when they told me about the course record and stuff, which I had a good idea about anyway, and that was good, because of the heat, I'd kind of just put that to the side. I was just going to be just running for places, and really just to finish it. The biggest thing wasn't about, and this is the truth, even though I've won it, I could say otherwise, but the biggest thing was, because it was so long, was just finish it, no problems, like no like getting through and no eating well or something like that. But we all spoke about it, me and like Steve and Fiona and especially my brother, we spoke about it after it and goes like, how disciplined were you? Thanks to them as well, but even like got to take a wee bit of credit of just how much you come on and go, right, I'm not having to be told you need to take food on, you need to do this, you need to do that, like change your socks. I was doing all that on my own. I always had my head, I was always clear at what was going on. You know, I wasn't buzzed, I was always feeling good. So that was it really. My plan was I was going to stay up there for the next. I talked my wife into saying, I said, right, I'm going to be here for like 24 hours. Leave me the camper van because it was mine anyway. I says, you go back. My brother can go back. My mum and everyone can go back, and I'll just stay there and see people in. But when we were there, they all sort of talked me out, and they says, listen, you're going to be here with practically nobody because everybody's going away, and like you've got like hours and hours, like 10 hours into the next person. Then after that, I was a bit gutted because I really wanted to be there at the finish because that was my plan, and but understood why. They were caring about me, and I understand their reasons. And they say, like, listen, they'll know that you know that you would have wanted to be there and stuff, and they'll understand. So I left, and a wee bit of kind of mixed emotions about that, about leaving. So leaving still. So, but I did message you. I was writing on the other posts when I was seeing they were finishing. Doesn't matter if it was second, third, fourth, fifth. I was writing on all of them until I knew most of them had finished. And then I was thanking different ones, like different crews that I had spoke to, and saying thanks for your support, or thanks for just wishing me well while you seen me. And like the event staff were brilliant as well. They were great. So that was good. So I managed to thank most of them, I think. And so that was basically it. And since I've come back, that was maybe Monday night. I've been like proper jet lagged since, feeling just very all over the place, resting up really for the last few days. Today I was into work, and it worked today, no to work, but just to train. I went in for an upper body session, just to make me feel better a bit, and just feeling a wee bit, probably like, I was about 8 pound underweight when I finished, so I was just feeling that I wanted to just eat a lot, and I still do. I just still feel like I want to get on more calories and just feel a wee bit better before I know I'm back to normal. So, but yeah, I'm starting to feel a lot better today, moving about more, walking about quite a lot, and that's it really.
So, if anyone's got any questions, put them in the comment section and we'll get to them. So you obviously say you don't really have like a set nutrition, like you just take what you like. But what electrolytes do you take and supplements and stuff like that?
Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, so although I don't take set things, I do like stuff. So I like both active root and mountain fuel. I should probably like them like equally. So and it's also like probably you might get sick of the taste of one. So I thought to myself, I'll start with, it was a 50-50. And I thought I'll start with, because I love ginger. So I started with active root for the first half. And I basically took, like, any times I was using electrolytes and stuff like that, I was using the active root ones. And then in the second half, I was using the mountain fuel ones. So that's those. I took some salt. I took a salt tablet just once every hour, especially for the during the day, and then just to make sure that I had plenty of salts and stuff. And then what else? I'm just trying to think. Oh, I had like typical things like rice puddings. I even had chips once, and soup. I had soup love soup. And I found that soup was what I was craving quite a lot during that race. I don't know why, but usually something. And I always say it's different every time. But that race, I was like, give me soup, you know, like, so I don't know if they thought I was being aggressive, but I just wanted more soup. But so I had soup. Was it chicken mushroom pot noodle? I got a sandwich, a jam and peanut butter sandwich once. I had then loads of different wee snacks. I had fruit as well. I quite like fruit. I had a couple of ice lollies because of the temperatures, like ice poles and stuff. So I had like a fruit pastel one, I think. I had a couple other ones that people had got me. I like cans of Coke. I usually just drink water and stuff, but if it's usually into the second half, I'll have a can of Coke or something like that. So I had a couple of those. Then I had a couple of, and it doesn't need to be. Sometimes it could be something simple like I think my brother put in a couple of Snickers, and they weren't part of my kit, but quite like those as well. But there was two of them melted because of the heat. So, but like yeah, so different things like that. There's loads of stuff. Oh, I'm just trying to think. Oh, yeah, and then just other kind of random fuel stuff. There was mainly fruit and stuff like that, and just trying to think, and a couple of energy bars and things like that. It's like, you know, there was also, yeah, just like oh, just trying to think what else there was. Oh, there was like Cliff Blocks as well that they sell. There's like little, they look like little bits jelly. So
Yeah.
those ones as well. So I'll take them because they're easy to go down and stuff like that. So I usually just take them. And I'll usually carry those. And sorry, Vim as well. I like the Vim bars. And I'll usually carry stuff like that inside my pack. With maybe a couple of packs of crisps sometimes as well. And then I'll take my flasks, my hydration pack, and then all your mandatory kit and stuff like that in there. So yeah, that was it for nutrition.
So what was your training like? Like, because Woody doesn't do long runs; he just does lots of short runs. What shocked me is what was yours?
Yeah, mine's is probably mine's is a bit, I would say, middle range, because it's I'll do just like, so my training doesn't change too much through the week. Like and again, it's down to just methods that Casey's worked with me. Probably what's good for me, because I've got like kids. I work full time on a gym, so I'm a busy guy, very busy. And it's like, right, you know what? I found something that works for me, and that's the most important thing. It's all right, like you could like go say you're going to go try and fit in 10 runs like Woody does or something, but then not go to fulfill it, or else, and then you would end up getting inside your own heads and thinking, oh, what am I doing? I'm not doing this, or trying to do like crazy miles. And so I think it's just something that works. So I would just train normally, try and build up a good base of training. I was doing all your usual, some speed work in there, some hills, some normal runs as well. But then come closer to the event, I was just increasing my weekend miles a bit. So it was nothing rocket science, but it was just consistency, really. That was it, the biggest key. I did have a bit of bad luck running up to it. I got COVID for the first time ever, only a couple of months ago, and it was like a week before a race, and I was like, oh no. So like I was thinking, oh, I've been so good, and I'd won a few races back to back, and then I was this event was approaching. This was my biggest race, and it was the one that was most important to me. And then we're getting closer, and then I got COVID, and I was like, oh no, things are going to start going wrong. But I managed to win the race the week after. It was a 100k race, and then since then my training started improving again. So yeah, like I think just being consistent with whatever you decide works for you is my biggest thing. Is going, you decide what pattern works for you best. As long as you're training and you're getting a kind of decent volume in, especially coming closer to the race. But then, yeah, and then I think that race there, in my mind anyway, is 100% mental rather than the actual training, because everything can go wrong in training before it, and that did for me. So it wasn't like I was getting in going, right, this isn't the prep, I'm a few weeks behind, but at the same time, I always flip everything to a positive and go, right, but I'm not overcooked, I'm getting into this fresher, I'm also like my head doesn't wilt, I'm super strong in the head. So I had all those thoughts and going, right, okay, as long as you go into it having a strong mind, then anything's possible. So, and I said that in one of my posts the week before the race, or the 2 days before it. I said, this is for everybody that doubts herself before a race. I said, I'm going to dedicate this for every single person that doubts herself, that clear your mind of can. And that's my motto in my gym. Clear your mind of can, and just be positive, and just and because things will go wrong, like even during the race, even if you've had the best prep, loads of stuff will go wrong during that. Just don't let it. Just go, well, it could have been this, and just be positive. Put a positive spin on it, and then as long as you do that, you'll just you can only have a good time.
Especially when you're doing like ultras, like, because it's such a long distance, it's very unlikely you could have a perfect race anyway, because you run that amount of time, so much can happen, and a lot of it's out your hands anyway, and you can't prevent it. What was your highest mileage in a week? Like, what would you say your highest was?
My highest mileage was probably like these were either like doing a race or something, or just like in the last number of weeks.
Yeah.
So my highest one was something like 90 miles or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I also know that was my highest. That was like I did a 100k race and maybe some runs through the week before it. So I know people who have done shorter races and will run 120 miles. And something that if that works for them, then that's all good. So again, like there's a lot of real, like professional runners that run twice a day. I've never needed to do that. I've run once a day and that's it. And like it works for me. So yeah, I just do one run a day, and probably looking in, people would have thought he's not running enough. But sometimes like rather than quality rather than quantity, just getting in good sessions. And if you have to run hard or you have to run fast, you run fast and run hard, and then just the rest of them just get the runs in and do them, and then when you go to the weekend or whatever, try and get some big runs in or something. So
do you do what do you do to stay awake? Because obviously you're up for a long time, so did you take any caffeine tablets or anything?
Yeah, just like, so there's things like some of the fuel and gels and all that kind of stuff have caffeine in them and stuff. I try not to take caffeine before in my first half of the race, so I try and wait until probably when I need it. That there was a different race, so you've got you've got to take it maybe during the night. So I would split that down and go, right, I'm not going to take caffeine until night time, and then go, right, I've got my Coke, I've got different stuff, gels or whatever it is you want to use with your caffeine and stuff and it, then you use it maybe later for night time, so that because I remember even listening to Keith saying he took a gel through the day in the first day, and he said to me, no, I think I've hit a wee low from after my gel. So I was like, right, and I take everything, and I was like, right, okay. So he'd obviously been on the gels, quite early on and stuff like that. And I'm different. I don't really use gels as much unless I really need them. Whereas I tend to try and use just food. But again, we're all different, and what works for one doesn't work for somebody else. So, and then once you find stuff that you like, then just stick with that.
Have you got any like tips for people? Because there is quite a lot of people who don't do ultras. There is a couple of people, I recognise the names, who were doing like the first ultra and who want to do an ultra but have not done a marathon yet. So have you got any tips for?
Yeah.
Just in
So
general?
yeah, I would. I'd just start with maybe, it's always the best. Just like, and I know it sounds probably common sense, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes people just need reassuring and going over it again. But start with like a 50k, 50k, or a 40 miler or whatever, that kind of distance, and then get that under your belt. I like sometimes like for those kind of distances, like there's a fear of doing those miles because you're used to doing shorter distance trail runs, and people are going, oh, it's just the distance scares me. So sometimes, like again, this isn't MD's method, but just mine. Not even like this is just my method, and sometimes it's just going, like committing yourself to like whether it be a big run like a 25, 30 mile run or whatever, and going, right, okay, it might be a good few mile more than I was going to do. And it might take me like an hour more than I thought I was going to do. But once you've got that, you could always, that's your benchmark. You could always go back and revisit that same route and do it again, like later down your training, and go, wow, look at the difference, and you can see the progression. So that's my tips for the distances I would maybe pick, and also ways to approach it as well.
Yeah. Right, there is a couple of questions. If you've got a question, pop it in now, because there isn't too many questions. I think a lot of these you have actually answered. Someone said, in the terms of what percentage, how much do you think it comes down to physical like performance? How much is mental to complete the big miles of the event?
Again, right, it's a sort of difficult one because of cut-offs. So if you were to take cut-offs away, then 100% mental, because it's like you just got to put one foot in front of another, and we can all achieve more than it's always into. And the amount of times people say to me, "Oh, you remind me of David Goggins and all the rest of it," because of the fact you just don't stop, and you don't have a kind of negative kind of. But at the same time, as it's this you just got to. I think if there wasn't cut-off, so it's different, depends on what kind of race you take on. So like if you take on mountain races, their cut-offs are worse, like as in more critical, and they're harsher, because they can't like justify somebody being up and stuck in the mountains. So you'll probably find where you'll get timed out of those. So you really need to make sure your fitness is good. You spend a lot of times up in the hills, getting hill-specific training, and that's it. So people can run in trails and things like that, loads. But if if there's hills involved, you've got to look at what the event is and go, right, if there's hills involved in this, maybe I should get some hill training done. If it's just a trail run, like flat trails and stuff, then probably the cut-offs are going to be a wee bit more lenient, and you'll probably get through it just with just a bit of determination. So it's hard to answer that one.
Yeah. I think that's all the questions. Is there anything else you want to add to the bingo, or anything you can think of?
Yeah, so just trying to think. I would definitely recommend that, like even that race alone, because it's that one we're talking about. If somebody was going to do it and they wanted to just test themselves, then go for it. It's I already know a few people that I know who have signed up already, so it's good that I've inspired those guys to go and take, put themselves out there and do it. And again, every race is different, because you could turn up and you're not going to get 30 degrees, so you might have an even better time than we did, but so just if again, and don't compare yourself to anybody else as well. Like even if you're watching this and you think, right, my thing right now is 10k, or or half marathons or something like that. I could even dream of doing something like I'm doing, but we all started there. And your half marathons like my 215, so it's exactly the same. That's where you're at, and we've all been there. So like it's still an impressive thing that people are doing, So I just keep pushing yourself, and don't try not to limit yourself to believing that that's all you can do, because a lot of times I've been there in the past where I've been doing like marathons and stuff, and I probably wouldn't have visualised what I was doing now. So yeah, you could do anything.
Have you got any kit what you'd recommend, or staples what like you can't do a race without because you just think it's really good bit of kit?
Yeah, like I could tell you about stuff. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention kit stuff. Can I talk about my kit?
And yeah, I'm going with that.
So I tend to use a lot of. I know a lot of guys will use Innovate and Salomon. I'm a kind of big Montaigne. I use a lot of Montaigne kit. I don't know what. Well, I did the Dragon's Back race last year, and that was my introduction really to their kit. I'd done stuff. I'd used a few other stuff like before that here and there, but I think that was like really the start of using a lot of their kit. And I used their big pack, their Gecko 20 plus or something like that. It's a big pack. I use that. I use their water bottles, like the Montaigne water bottles. They've got this one's a short one, but on the end, some of them are really long, some of them are mid ones, and they'll stick in. They don't disappear or kind of start slipping. My socks that I wear for big events and gingy socks, trail socks. So I like toe socks. So I use them. And then probably I like depends on what the weather conditions are like. So I have, if the weather was bad, I would use a mix of for my feet. I would use if the weather was really bad, I would be using probably my Innovate shoes. But because the weather was good and so hot, I used my Hokas. So I'd use those during that event. So yeah, like that's the main thing. I never really run with. I listened to something for last year, and somebody was talking about running tights. And I never used running tights at all. I just used my shorts and t-shirt, but a Vaseline like everywhere. So if you have any problems or whatever, chaffing or any of these things, then just Vaseline all over the body.
What do you use for blisters?
Vaseline.
Oh, right, okay.
Vaseline all over, like feet. But then a lot of people use different stuff. They'll use things like what do you call it? Like talcum powder, things like that. But like I just stick to what I like. Vaseline just stops the friction and any kind of heat spots, and that just keeps everything nice and smooth and that. So it's good.
Yeah, I've seen someone use lube on the feet for blisters. So
yeah, there you go. So like I had like chamois cream and all that for cycling. I've used different stuff. Also used one called Gurney Goo for my feet, and I was using it like the only tiny wee tubes. That's quite good stuff. That actually, if there was only one other thing I would recommend other than Vaseline, I would use Gurney Goo. But they come in tiny wee tubes, so I would probably just Vaseline. You can get in big tubs, and so I would just stick with the Vaseline.
Someone said, "What's next? Have you got any plans? Upcoming races, challenges?"
Yeah, well, so my plan, yeah. So I'm going to. The aim's to do the Spine race in January.
Oh yeah,
the winter one. So it's like notoriously bad weather where it's really bad conditions. So that's still the plan. I'm going to probably do something before that. I just need to see, the body's already feeling pretty good now, and I'm not even a week in. So I'm going to wait and see. I was going to go to America to do like World's Toughest Mudder in November. That's that 24-hour one again. So we'll see what happens. That's in Florida. So I might still go to that. I really just need, as long as I want there, like as long as I have to have I don't just do things for the sake of it. If I have a real desire for it, then I'll go. So I'll wait and have a week off. I've got an extra week here, and after that, then I'll know if I really want it, then I'll go. If I don't, then I'm not going. So I'll just see how it goes. But that's the next one. Also, there's a part of me wants to do the West Highland Way again, race in June. So because I did that, that was like one of my first ultras, and it was definitely the first ultra when I was working with Casey, and I feel like I've improved massively since then. So like I'd love to see how much time I could knock off it, and yeah, so maybe that as well.
There was something I was going to ask then, I forgot. Can't remember it. I read a comment and then it's gone out my head.
All right. So no, like, yeah, I'll just see what happens, and if something else comes up as well, I'll maybe just jump in. And
yeah.
So.
What events would you recommend? Like, what is the events? What were your favourites? I know like every event's your favourite, but like ones you are like unique.
Yeah, absolutely. No, like so my like they're different because they are very different. I think on one go, my longest one was this year by far. So this was really good, and it was brilliant for different reasons. For not just taking the win, but also just the fact it was in Scotland and things like that. So I love that. So and that was different because it was a real mix of kind of terrain where, you know, it's not. So I do if you want something that's not just like the West Highland Way is just like running track. Like I say that it's no, but like it's like a trail, a good trail. A lot of hundreds and thousands of people walk it, but this isn't as quite as. There is a lot of road sections that are maybe for some trail runners and stuff that would really grip you a bit. But apart from that, you know, some real nice. It's beautiful. So that was good. The West Highland Way was one of my favourites as well because it's so beautiful. The guys who run it are amazing. There's Sandra and Ian Beattie there, and all the crew. Everything about that race was. So I recommend that if you want a kind of more running 100-miler. The Devil of the Highlands, I've just crewed somebody. That was my first ever ultra. That was a great one. That was 43 mile. It's on the same route. And then outside of that, the Dragon's Back race is one of my best ever races. That's a staged event, so it's like 6 days in a trot. So you start from the top of Wales at Conway Castle, and then you go all the way down to Cardiff Castle at the bottom of Wales. But it's billed as the toughest mountain race in the world, and that is a tough race. Again, just through my luck, I did it in like the hottest days of last year, and there was like the DNF rate was like over 50%. I can't even remember the figures on day 1 and 2 alone. So like everybody was dropping out, and a couple of the big favourites they dropped out as well. So that was brilliant in its own way. But I would say with that one, you've got to be able to navigate, because if you don't, then you could get either timed out, or else you can just get disqualified for missing checkpoints and stuff. So navigation's a bit of a kind of must a bit for
that. I think that's it. Unless you can think of anything.
No, that's brilliant. Yeah,
have you got any social medias or websites or charity pages you would like to advertise? I have put your gym and Instagram in the description box.
Yeah, that's it. Really, just if anybody's in the west of Scotland, you know, you don't need to be based here, but you're in the west of Scotland, you want to come see me, visit the gym, talk about outdoor fitness, indoor fitness, whatever it is, just come and visit me. SBF, that's my gym, that's my community, and the rest of the guys, you'll love them as well. So just don't be a stranger. you liked what you see or whatever, then come and visit. So
And do you do any online coaching or anything? Because I know
yeah,
some people
yeah,
do.
absolutely, yeah, I do. Like again, it was something that I did mainly for my SPF team, but since on the last little while, it's opened up a bit more, and I've helped a lot of guys from different places, like Northern Ireland, Edinburgh, different places, the borders. So yeah, if anybody needs any help, then get in touch.
Okay, so if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe. If you want anyone for me to do an interview with anyone, pop the name in the comments or get them message me or message me on Instagram. My Instagram will be in the comments below, so you can message me on there. And I guess that's it. So thanks for coming and thanks for even considering doing an interview on my little channel. So thank you for that. And I'm assuming everyone else wants to say thank you as well. Also, if you go through the comments after, there's some really nice comments actually. I'd read them to you, but you're probably best just going through them yourself. So we'll end it there. So guys, thanks for watching and I will see you next